I just did one of the hottest surprise proposal turned engagement shoots that I've ever done, and the photos turned out amazing. I am so pumped with them. The couple loved them. I loved them. Oh my God, they were incredible. So today I'm gonna show you the behind the scenes of kind of how the shoot went and how I edited the photos to give it that really spicy look. Let's get into it. Will Simpson here, and welcome back to Exploring Photography. Today we're gonna go over one of the coolest photo shoots I've ever done to date. Absolutely love the way they turned out. It's been a photo shoot that I've been wanting to do for some time now, and this couple was all about it and really got into it, and it turned out amazing. So how this worked is this client, he contacted me a couple of months ago, and he was like, I wanna propose to my girlfriend, and I wanna kind of do a surprise photo shoot with her, and I want you to capture this proposal. And I told him, I was like, totally doable. Here's what we're gonna do. This is what you're gonna do. This is what I'm gonna do. She's never gonna expect it. And we got the whole plan down, and it was great. So I got to the location about a half an hour before they did, and I was with my assistant. And so we were just kind of taking photos and pretending to take photos of the sun and her, and it was, you know, being there taking photos. No big deal. Everyone does that. So then his thing was he was supposed to come up with his girlfriend and take a selfie, and I was gonna go up to them and, you know, the same old thing. So as they were coming up, I actually pretended to be taking a picture of Dora, who was helping me do like behind the scenes footage and capture their proposal. So I took a picture of her, but I was actually focused on them. So it's really funny, this photo, here it is right here. And I showed it to them and they laughed about it afterwards. Anyways, so after that, I talked to them. I was like, all right, let's do a photo. So I got them posed, took a couple of couples photos. Then I posed her away from him. He showed me the ring, turned around, proposed, boom, 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 good. She was super thrilled, super happy. It went awesome. And then I was like, welcome to your engagement shoot. So I have this idea, and I showed her a couple of example photos, and she was like, let's do it. I love it, absolutely. And that's when we got into this really fiery engagement shoot that these two were amazing. So how this photo shoot evolved is there was a few photos that I had to do first where before they got into the water and her skirt started like sticking to her and his shirt and shorts were starting to like get the water spots and stuff like that. So I did a couple of photos. The first one I did was them standing in the water and her kind of falling into him and him holding her closely and, you know, just really romantic, getting that sun flare and taking the photo. And if I recall, the settings for this photo was the ISO was 100, 38mm, f4, and 1/250th of a second. So I had to counteract the sun because the sun was super bright and I was shooting into it, but I still wanted a little bit of starburst and not a flare, so I hid it behind his head, and that's kind of how I got this photo. Then we evolved into them sitting just outside the water, as you can see, and this is where she was kind of on top of him, holding close in the water, kind of giving it that romantic book feel. Really love that. Then we evolved a little bit more, and this is the photo that I absolutely love. It's super romantic and really kind of intimate. It's not very risque, but it's a very pretty photo. I love this, especially with the curve of the water. I actually had to take several photos to make sure I got that curve of the water right. So I told him, I was like, all right, you guys, we're gonna wait till the water does exactly what I want. So I want you to just stay there. And they're like, we could stay here forever. I was like, stop, you guys are too cute. Anyways, the water finally did what I wanted, and it gave a little bit of an S curve and became that leading line to them. And it turned out to be one of my favorite photos of this entire shoot. And then after that, I was like, you know what? Let's get a little risque. Let's get a little, let's get a little spicy, shall we? And they were like, yes, let's do it. I got them in the water. I had her sit on top of him, and I was like, let's pull down your it's called a strap. Yeah, your strap a little, kind of show like you guys are really getting into it. And I was like, oh, this is perfect. And then I was like, there's something missing. All right. I was like, all right, have him. So I had him grab, like he was pulling down the strap. And then I was like, okay, now you, her, I was like, all right, you look up like you're like in ecstasy kind of thing, and I want him to kiss on her neck, right on the top of her chest. Oh my gosh, it went, they loved it. It was so good, and it turned out, oh my God, this photo turned out so freaking good. It is super hot, and it just, I love this photo. I was so pumped with it. Anyways, that's how the story went with getting the photos. And now we're going to get into editing some of them because this style of these photos I absolutely loved. So let's get into Lightroom and get into editing. Okay, so the first one we're gonna edit is this one here. So I'm gonna create a virtual copy here and then reset it so you can see. So here is the raw image. It was shot ISO 100, 38 millimeters, f4, and 1/250th of a second. As you can see, I did a little bit of cropping action to make it really long and beautiful. So what we're going to do is we're going to just scroll down here to transform and click auto, see what it does. Good, now we're gonna hit the crop tool. Let's go ahead and make it an Instagram size and go ahead and bring it down and put that water line right on the rule of thirds. Perfect. Now with this one, you can see I did a 16:9, so I'm just gonna use a 4:5 for Instagram purposes. The next thing is we're gonna slap on my Hazy Days preset, which is part of my Will's Been Here Exploring Photography 2020 preset pack available on my website. And that's gonna give us that look that we want. I wanted kind of a very orangey and faded look, but the real difference comes with the local adjustments. So now that we've done that, I wanna warm this bad boy up. So we're gonna raise the temperature and we're gonna add some magenta. Good, looking better. Then we're gonna add a little bit of contrast and we're gonna scroll down here, drop the clarity just a little bit. And then we're gonna get into the local adjustments. So a linear gradient first to pull and darken that front area to really make it glow. Then we're gonna do a radial gradient and we're going to make it really big, set it right where the sun is. We're going to subtract the subject because we don't want it to affect them. Then we're gonna raise the exposure and the warmth and the magenta. Good. Then we're gonna take a brush and we're gonna simply just paint over these dark waves here. All this is gonna do is add a little bit more depth to the image. This is very subtle, dodging and burning. And we're just going to lower the exposure just a shade, and that's just gonna give us a little bit more depth. And there we go. So I think we pretty much got it exactly. Here's the before, and here's the after. Good, I'll throw it up on the screen because that was way too confusing. Okay, good, so let's go to this one here. Now this one's a little bit more difficult because this here is the raw image. So this, you can tell there was a lot of work that I did to it. So the first thing we're gonna do is, let's go ahead and just reset this here. Okay, so here is the full raw image. This one was shot ISO 100, 70 millimeters, so I was backed up so I could pull that background in. f2.8 to really put the focus on them and get the blur in the front and back, and then a 1/250th of a second. That way I didn't get much blurry, if any blurry water. So we're gonna go ahead and crop this really quick to a 4:5, which is Instagram. We're gonna put them on the upper 2/3 because I want this S-curve fully, and there we go. Now we're gonna have to remove these people because no one likes spectators when you're looking hot and enjoying your time with your person. So we're gonna get rid of them. But first we're going to add the color because I wanna do the majority of the color edits prior to going to Photoshop and back, because it will compress the image a little and I wanna make sure that I get the full range of color edits prior. So we're gonna, again, slap on that Hazy Days preset. Then we gotta make a few adjustments here. First, we're gonna warm it up a little bit. We're going to lower this clarity because we want this to be a really soft image, and add a little bit of magenta, just a shade. Okay, good. So that's good for now. We'll come back and do that later. Good, so then we edit in Photoshop. This will bring us over to Photoshop at some point. Okay, now that we're in Photoshop, we're gonna do our usual method, make a copy of the background so we have it as backup. First thing we're gonna do is remove this, because that's ugly. I don't know if I removed that in the other image, but now we are. So now that's gone, good. Let's remove this leaf. I know this is in the other image because I don't see these before. We just wanna clean it up around them. Good, now let's remove the people. So the first thing we're gonna do is the stamp tool, make our selection here, and let's close out the waterline. Good, and I think we can just bring this down. Luckily it's water, and so it kind of just blends in and it's not really a problem. So let's just clear those people out. Good, so that's them. Then we're gonna come over here to the shoreline, and we're gonna copy this shoreline, and we're gonna come up here to I'm gonna remove this real quick. Good. Back to the stamp tool, and we're gonna complete this. We're gonna have a lot of duplicates, so don't worry, we're gonna come back and fix it. Excellent, good, stamp tool. Good, 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 good. Okay, that's looking okay, good. And then let's complete the shoreline here because it's gotta connect. Now this is looking kind of terrible right now, but that's okay, we are going to fix. Good, okay, so that works. And then go back to the tool, the healing brush, and we're just gonna let Photoshop do its thing. That looks awful. Okay, here we go. Good, and I think that. The other thing to remember is this is in the background, and I'm gonna blur it even more, so it's not that big of a deal. So most of this is gonna disappear even though we're looking at it really close. Once we zoom out, you won't really even notice it. The one thing to never forget is reflections, because now we have all these people's reflections and no people. So we gotta fix that. Luckily, again, it's water, so the healing brush should be able to simply remove them. A little bit of darkness isn't going to hurt anybody, but we wanna make sure that we clean up the majority of it without hurting them. Okay, good, good. And just make sure it looks decent, like doesn't have to be perfect. I think that looks good enough. We can come back and, yeah, that looks good enough. Okay, good. So that looks fine to me. That means you zoom out, you're not gonna be able to tell anything there. So now that we're done in Photoshop, press Command S, and we're gonna save it back into Lightroom and get back into the final touches here. And the people are now gone. Beautiful. Now we're going to add our local adjustments, which is the main focus of this image. First, we're gonna warm it up a lot, add some magenta. Then we are going to add our radial filter. This is where we're adding that big old sun, making them glow, really brightening it up. Good, because this is golden hour and we want it to show as golden hour. Perfect, good. Now we're gonna do some dodging and burning, and by dodging and burning, I mean lightening and darkening. So let's take our brush tool, and we're going to simply take a brush as close to this edge as possible and just wrap it around. That was terrible. Oh, so bad with the mouse. Okay, good. And put a little bit here. Good, and then we're gonna just darken that a little bit without it showing. Perfect, good. And then we're gonna darken this area. Good, darken this area, excellent. Now we're gonna do another brush, and we're gonna draw this on the foam of the water. And this one we are going to lighten. So this will add depth to the image. Good, add a little bit of lightening, brighten this area over here. Actually, no, I don't like that. Okay, good. Good, so that's that. Now let's look at the other image here and see how we're doing. I think we're missing a little bit of clarity. Yeah, that's what I thought. So now we're gonna go ahead and select the subject because they are a little dark and we want them to pop a little bit more. Good, brighten them up and then dehaze. Yep, and then we're gonna desaturate them a little just simply because they are looking a little oversaturated. Good, scroll down to detail. Let's add a bunch of sharpening, noise reduction, and then mask it out. So it's only affecting the edges. There we go. Yes, that's looking great. Okay, so before, after. Okay, great. Now it's still a little dull, so let's go ahead and add a little bit more sharpening here. Beautiful. There we go. That's looking good. Okay, good. Now add a little bit more warmth. Excellent, I think we're good. So, yeah. I think we can actually lower the blacks just a shade, raise the whites. Yeah, because, so what we did originally in the first image before we went to Photoshop is we applied that preset. Now that preset has a huge S-curve on it, and I believe in the other image I lowered that S-curve so we have more true blacks. So in this one we have, it looks very sharp. This one has that little fade to it, but I mean, that's okay. It's style. Every photo is gonna be different. It's gonna be hard to really get a perfect photo. So that is that one, and I think that looks good. So before, well, let's see, let's reset this. So before, after. There we go. Okay, and let's get to the final one here, which is this one. Now this one just turned out incredible, and this one we only did a few things to. So this one was pretty simple. We slapped on the Hazy Days preset, right? Good. What we're gonna do is we're gonna lower the exposure. We're going to warm it up, add some magenta. We're going to add a select subject mask, and we're gonna brighten them up. Yeah, there we go. Still keep it a little dark because you wanna keep it realistic. We're gonna add a linear gradient here, just like that. We're gonna add a radial gradient behind it, and we're gonna brighten it up, warm it up, subtract the subject, and boom, there we go. Before, after. And there you have it. That is the process of these edits and why they turned out so good. Now this photo here was 100 ISO, 42 millimeter, 3.2 f-stop, and a 1/125th of a second. It is very important to get things right in camera because then it makes editing so much faster, especially if you have what you're looking for. If you know what you're trying to create, try and get everything proper before you take that photo, because the less editing you have to do, the more the photo will look more natural and look really good. But this is my process. I hope you enjoyed. If you want to get that preset pack, it is on my website. I'll link it in the description. Otherwise, that is all for this video. So I hope you enjoyed the behind the scenes. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button and the like button. And I'll see you guys next week. Later.